I was ready to share my biggest achievement with my parents, dreaming of their hugs and proud words, but when I spoke, they compared me to my brother instead. And that was the day I learned that recognition doesn't always come from the people love most. I still remember the exact moment my world shifted. Not when I made the worst decision of my months later, but the moment that cracked something inside me so deep that I didn't even realize it was broken. I was 26, holding my promotion letter with shaking hands, regional manager, the youngest in company history. Sarah was squealing beside me, jumping and down in our tiny apartment kitchen. Baby, this is it. This is everything I've worked for. She was right. 60-hour weeks, missed dinners, cancelled dates, all leading to this moment. And the first people I wanted to tell were my parents. The drive to their house felt like floating. I kept glancing at Sarah in the passenger seat, both of us grinning like idiots. I had rehearsed it in my head 1,000 times. Walking through their front door, seeing Dad's face light, feeling Mom's arms around me. They're gonna be so proud, Sarah whispered, squeezing my hand. I knocked instead of using my key. This felt too important for casual entry. Mom opened the door, flower on her apron. Oh, what are you doing here? I have news, I said, barely containing. Really good news. Dad looked from his newspaper. The living room smelled like Mom's cookies, the same smell from every childhood victory I'd ever celebrated here. I got promoted, I announced, pulling out the letter. Regional manager. Youngest in company history. The silence stretched exactly 3 seconds too long. That's nice, honey, Mom said, wiping her hands. Brother just got accepted to that medical residency program. Did I tell? Johns Hopkins. They only take 12 people a year. My stomach dropped. Wait, I said, voice smaller now. Did hear what I said? Regional manager. Dad folded his newspaper. We heard congratulations. But no, brother's achievement, that's really something special. Medical school, now residency. He's going to be saving lives. I stood there holding my letter like a child with a crayon drawing nobody wanted to see. This promotion comes with a company car. I tried again, hating how desperate I sounded. And I'll be overseeing 3 states. That's wonderful, dear, Mom said, already moving toward the kitchen. I should check on dinner. Brother's calling tonight to tell us about his first day. Sarah's hand found mine, but her touch felt like pity now. I should have left then. Should have walked away and processed this privately. Instead, I stood there as they spent the next 20 minutes talking about my brother's girlfriend, his new apartment, his bright future. 20 minutes where they asked Sarah about her job but not about mine. 20 minutes where every childhood memory rearranged itself in my head. Every school play where they mentioned my brother's science fair project. Every birthday where my cake shared space with talk of his latest accomplishment. Every moment I thought was mine, but apparently never was. We left before dinner. I mumbled something about having plans. The drive home was silent except for Sarah's occasional, "Hey, I'm proud of," which somehow made everything worse. That night, lying in bed, something fundamental shifted inside me. The promotion I'd worked years for felt meaningless. Sarah's congratulations felt hollow. The future I'd planned felt like a consolation prize. I didn't know it then, but that was the moment I started making excuses. Started telling I deserved better. Started believing that if the people who were supposed to love me most couldn't see my worth, maybe I was settling for someone who couldn't either. The company's celebration party was 2 weeks later. Open bar, fancy hotel, all the regional managers and their partners invited. Sarah couldn't come. Work emergency. The old me would have understood, would have gone alone and caught her between conversations. But I wasn't the old me anymore. And that's when I met Jessica. She worked for our biggest client. Beautiful, successful, interested in everything I had to say. When I told her about my promotion, her eyes lit like I just told her I'd won the lottery. Regional manager. At 26, that's incredible. The words I'd been dying to hear, finally spoken by someone who mattered. Someone who saw me. We talked for hours. About work, about ambition, about feeling invisible despite our success. She got it. She got me in a way that felt like coming for air after drowning. When she suggested we continue the conversation at the hotel bar, I should have said no. When she leaned closer and said I was inspiring, I should have mentioned Sarah. When she touched my arm and said she'd never met anyone so driven, I should have walked away. Instead, I told I deserved this attention. Deserved to feel valued. Deserved to be someone's first choice for once in my. The elevator ride to her room lasted 30 seconds. 30 seconds where I could have stopped it. 30 seconds where I chose not to. 3 hours later, I was staring at the hotel ceiling, Jessica asleep beside me, my phone showing 7 missed calls from Sarah. The promotion letter was still in my car, crumpled now from the celebration party. I'd spent my entire trying to be the son my parents could be proud of, the boyfriend Sarah deserved, the man I thought I wanted to be. But lying there in that hotel room, I realized I'd become someone else entirely. Someone I didn't recognize. Someone who just destroyed everything that actually mattered for a moment of feeling like I mattered to someone else. The worst part. In that moment, I still thought I could fix it. I had no idea that the real consequences hadn't even started yet. I thought I could compartmentalize it, file it away like a bad dream and move forward. I was wrong about everything. The first lie came easy. Sorry, phone died during the party speeches. Know how those corporate events drag on? Sarah smiled in me. How was it? Did everyone make a big deal about promotion? Yeah, I said, the word tasting like big deal. She made my favorite breakfast the next morning. Pancakes with the little smiley face drawn in syrup that she'd been doing since we first moved in together. Watching her hum while she cooked, I felt something inside my chest. The guilt was supposed to fade. That's what I told. One mistake, move on, be a better person. Instead it grew. Every felt like theft, every I love, felt like. But the worst part, Jessica kept texting, last night was amazing, when can I see again? I should have blocked her number. Should have changed my phone, should have transferred departments. Instead, can't stop thinking about it either. The second time happened 3 weeks later. Another business dinner, another excuse to Sarah. Another hotel room, another night of pretending I was someone deserving of admiration instead of someone living a double. The third time was when everything started falling apart. Sarah's best friend Emma worked in marketing at Jessica's company. Small world, smaller city. I knew this. I should have been more careful. I wasn't. Emma saw us having lunch, not touching, not kissing, but the way Jessica looked at me, the way I leaned in when she spoke. Emma knew. Women always know. The call came while I was in a meeting. We need to talk. Tonight. Emma's coming over for dinner. My turn to ice water. I spent the rest of the day crafting explanations, work relationship, client management, perfectly innocent business meeting. But when I walked into our apartment and saw Emma's face, I knew it was over. Sarah was in the kitchen, but she wasn't cooking. She was just standing there staring at the wall. Sit down. Not Sarah. Emma. Look, whatever think saw. Don't. Sarah's voice was flat, empty. Just don't. Emma pulled out her phone. Photos. Me and Jessica at the restaurant. Me and Jessica walking to her car. Me and Jessica in the hotel parking lot. 3 different dates, Emma said. 3 different times I happened to be in the right place to see with her. Sarah finally looked at me. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying anymore. That was somehow worse. How long? She asked. I could have lied. Could have said it was just business, just friendship, just anything other than the truth. But looking at her face, I couldn't make it worse. 6 weeks. The number hung in the air like a sentence. 6 weeks, she repeated. While I was planning our engagement party, while I was telling my parents how proud I was of, while I was defending to my friends who said been distant. Emma gathered her things. I'll give 2 space to talk. After she left, the silence was unbearable. Say something, I begged. What do you want me to say? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. That I understand. That I forgive. That we can work through this. I want to let me explain. Explain what? That been living a double for 6 weeks. That every time we were thinking about her. That every I love was a lie. Wasn't like that. Then what was it like? For the first time, her voice cracked. Tell me what it was like to come home to me after being with her. Tell me what it was like to watch me plan our future while we're planning next hotel room. I had no answer. Get out, she said. Sarah, please. She was crying now. The kind of crying that sounds like breaking. I reached for her and she away like I was fire. Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again. I packed a bag while she locked herself in the bathroom. I could hear her on the phone with her sister, could hear the words cheating, and 6 weeks, and I can't believe I was so. The hotel room I'd booked was 3 blocks from our apartment. The same chain where I'd met Jessica. The irony wasn't lost on me. I called in sick the next day, and the next. My phone was flooded with messages from friends, family, coworkers. Word travels fast in small cities. My brother called on day 3. Mom told me what happened, he said. She heard it from Sarah's mother, of course. The family network was already buzzing. I messed, I said. Destroyed her, he corrected. Sarah's been part of our family for 3 years. She was at every holiday, every birthday. Mom called her daughter. And that away for what? Some random woman. Don't understand. I understand perfectly. Felt sorry for because mom and dad didn't throw a parade, so decided to entire. Real mature. He hung. The worst part was that he was right. Work became a nightmare. Jessica's company pulled their contract the day after everything came out. My boss called me into his office. I don't care about personal, he said, but when personal choices cost us our biggest client, it becomes my problem. It's not related. She specifically requested that all future communications go through someone else. Said the working relationship had become inappropriate and unprofessional. Want to explain that? I couldn't. The demotion came the following week. Back to sales associate. Back to the cubicle I'd worked so hard to escape. The promotion I'd fought for. The achievement my parents couldn't be bothered to celebrate. Gone in 2 weeks. Jessica stopped answering my calls. Turns out, she was married too. Had been the whole time. Her husband found out the same day Sarah did, and suddenly I wasn't so inspiring anymore. I was just another cheater who'd cost her marriage and her job. Sarah moved out while I was at work. Took nothing that was mine, left nothing that was ours. Just empty spaces where our used to be. The engagement ring I'd been planning to give her next month sat in my sock drawer like evidence of the man I used to be. Friends stopped calling. Family gatherings happened without me. My entire social circle had revolved around Sarah, and without her, I was nobody. The loneliness was suffocating. But the worst was yet to come. Because Sarah wasn't just my girlfriend, she was the elementary school teacher for half the kids in town. And their parents were about to make sure everyone knew exactly what kind of man I really was. I thought rock bottom was losing Sarah. I was wrong. Rock bottom was discovering that in a small town, reputation is everything. And mine was about to become a cautionary tale whispered at every coffee shop and school pickup line. It started with the grocery store. Mrs. Henderson, who'd known me since I was 7, turned her cart around when she saw me in the cereal aisle. Just pivoted and walked away like I was contagious. Then it was the gas station. The teenage cashier who used to chat about basketball avoided eye contact and barely mumbled my total. But the real devastation came at the school fundraiser. Sarah had been organizing it for months. The fall festival was her baby, her pride and joy. She'd talked about it every night at dinner, stressed about vendor coordination and volunteer schedules. I knew I shouldn't go, knew it would be awkward, but some delusional part of me thought maybe, if I showed and supported her work, it might be a step toward something, forgiveness, understanding, a conversation. I was in. The moment I walked through the school gates, conversation stopped. Literally stop. Like someone had hit a pause button on the entire event. Sarah was at the face painting booth, laughing with a group of parents. When she saw me, the smile died on her face. "What are doing here?" Her voice carried across the sudden silence. I wanted to support the school. Support the school." Mrs. Paddle, whose daughter was in Sarah's class, stepped forward. Mean like supported Sarah. Other parents were gathering now. A small crowd of people who'd known me for years, who'd invited me to barbecues and birthday parties, who'd watched me and Sarah together at dozens of community events. "Have some nerve showing here," said Mr. Rodriguez. His son Tommy had been struggling with reading. Herd and Sarah had been staying after school to help him for free. "Sarah's the best teacher this school has ever had," added Mrs. Kim. "And broke her heart right in the middle of the school year. Do know how hard it's been for her to keep it together in front of the kids?" I didn't know. I hadn't thought about it. About Sarah standing in front of 25-8-year-olds every day, pretending her world hadn't imploded. About her forced smiles during story time while processing the betrayal. About her staying late to avoid going home to an empty apartment. "I think should leave." Principal Martinez appeared beside me. "This is a family event and frankly, presence is making people uncomfortable." The walk back to my car felt like a mile. Every step, I could feel eyes boring into my back, could hear whispers starting behind me. That night, the posts started appearing on social media. Nothing direct, nothing that mentioned names. But in a town of 8,000 people, everyone knew. Some people really show their true colors when it matters most. Feeling so grateful for the amazing teachers who pour their hearts into our children, even when their own hearts are broken. Character is what do when nobody's watching. Some people apparently have none. The comment sections were worse. Vague references to recent events and certain individuals and, what goes around comes around. My own social media became a graveyard. No new friend requests, no likes, no comments. Just the digital equivalent of being shunned. Work was becoming unbearable. The client Jessica's company had referred to us pulled out too, citing concerns about professional conduct. My new supervisor, barely 23 and fresh out of college, treated me like a liability. "We're going to need to discuss client interaction protocols," she said during my performance review. There have been concerns about judgment. 3 months after Sarah left, I ran into her at the pharmacy. She was picking prescriptions, and I was grabbing antacids for the stress-induced stomach problems that had become my constant companion. She looked terrible, thinner, tired, older somehow. But when she saw me, she stood straighter, lifted her chin like armor. "How are?" I asked, immediately regretting it. "How do you think I am?" she replied. I had to get tested for diseases because I couldn't trust that I'd only been with her. I had to cancel the engagement party I'd spent 6 months planning. I had to tell my grandmother, who's been asking about wedding dates, that there wouldn't be a wedding because her future grandson-in-law decided he wanted someone else. Each word hit like a physical. I had to explain to my students why I was crying during lunch break. 8-year-olds asking if I was okay because their teacher couldn't hold it together. Sarah, I had to listen to my friends tell me they always had a bad feeling about, and wonder if everyone saw something I was too to see. I had to move back in with my parents at 28 because I couldn't afford our apartment alone and couldn't stand being there anyway. She was crying now, but her voice stayed strong. Had to get therapy because I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't trust my own judgment about anything anymore. Because if I could be so wrong about, what else was I wrong about? I never meant for any of that. Never meant for consequences. Her laugh was bitter. Never meant to get caught. There's a difference. She walked away, leaving me standing in the pharmacy aisle holding antacids and the crushing weight of what I'd actually done. Not just cheating, not just lying. I'd stolen her sense of safety, her ability to trust, her faith in love itself. The final came 6 months later. Sarah was dating someone new. Mark, the high school basketball coach. Good guy, everyone said. Treats her like a queen, everyone said. Makes her smile again, everyone said. They got engaged on a Saturday. By Monday, the entire town was buzzing with happiness for them. The same people who'd whispered about me were openly celebrating their love story. At the grocery store, Mrs. Henderson stopped her cart to show me the engagement photos on Facebook. "Isn't that wonderful?" she beamed. "Sarah deserves someone who appreciates what a treasure she is." The message was clear. Sarah had moved on, found someone better, been appreciated properly. I was ancient history. Worse than that, I was a cautionary tale. The job market in a small town is limited, and my reputation preceded me everywhere. Cultural fit concerns, they called it. Not quite what we're looking for. I'd have to move, start over somewhere nobody knew my story. Leave behind my family, my childhood home, everything familiar. All for 6 weeks with someone who turned out to be as dishonest as I was. The night before I left town, I drove past our old apartment. Sarah's old apartment, I corrected. It wasn't ours anymore. Hadn't been for a long time. New curtains in the windows. Different car in the driveway. Someone else's happening in the space where ours used to be. My phone buzzed. A text from my brother. Heard moving. Mom's upset. She keeps saying she doesn't understand how I became this person. Neither did I. I'd started as someone desperate for recognition, for validation, for proof that I mattered to the people I loved most. I'd ended as someone who'd destroyed the one person who'd actually seen my worth all along. Sarah had celebrated every promotion, every small victory, every mundane Tuesday like it was the most important thing in the world. She'd made me feel like I was enough exactly as I was. And I'd thrown it away because my parents couldn't see past their golden child for 5 minutes. The moving truck came at dawn. I packed 3 years of my into boxes, loaded my car, and drove toward a city where nobody knew my name. In my rearview mirror, I watched my hometown disappear, taking with it any chance of being the man I used to be. The man Sarah had loved. The man who'd been enough all along but had been too broken to believe it. Now I get to spend the rest of my knowing that sometimes the people who can't see worth don't matter, and the ones who can are the ones should never let go.